Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the generous introduction, Martin. And I have met some of you, while most of you don't know me yet. Now, this is the first program in managerial effectiveness, emotional intelligence. Some of you would know about this topic, and others, it might be the first time that we are knowing this topic. Now, emotional intelligence, the way you think that it would be emotions, it's far more deeper. In fact, if I have to answer, I will say a lot of questions in life can be answered only through emotional intelligence. So I will not waste too much of time on the first slide. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to see how this can contribute to our success in life, how it can affect our day-to-day interaction, how can I lead my team better and get better responses, and also develop self-control. Now, the chat box is open for all of us, and I'm going to ask you questions. Please answer, participate. Otherwise, trust me, conducting a program on a virtual medium is very difficult because I can't really look at faces and gauge responses. I need to know whether my participants are with me or not. So please respond, ask questions. I'll be more than happy to answer as we get along. So my first question to you is, what thoughts or emotions do you wake up with every morning? I don't want you to respond this to me on the chat box. I want you to write this somewhere. I hope all of us have a pen and a paper, something to write, because there are going to be quite a few exercises which is very interesting, and it is for our own development. So if you don't, please quickly grab a pen and a paper and write down, because we are going to revisit this emotions in a while. My question is, what thoughts or emotions do you wake up in the morning? So, morning when you wake up, it's like a PC which was switched off last night. And when you switch it on, each and every tab, each and every program opens up and you come to life. So you wake up thinking, oh my God, it's morning again. Or do you wake up thinking, wow, it's going to be a great day, and this is going to be a very, very productive day for me? Or do you just wake up thinking, okay, these emotions of life. Next morning, is it raining outside? What are your emotions? Can you think about 3 or 4 of them and just jot them and park them? Okay, so having said this, let me also ask you the next question. I see a lot of raised hands. I will come to the raised hands in a while. Now, I'm going to ask you another question here. My question is, think about your school or think about your college, your even your post-graduation, and think about that student who used to come first in your class. Is he or she the most successful in the entire batch today? Listen to the question again. Think about your school or your college and think about that student who used to come first in the class. Is he or she the most successful in the entire batch today? Please respond on the chat box. No, not really. Yes, no. Is the student who used to come first in the class the most successful? Now, you might also ask me, what is my parameter of success? I will say the worldly parameters of success, which is power, position, money. Okay. Largely, no. Now, think about that student who in the entire batch is most successful today. He was probably somebody who was average, not doing very good, was somewhere in between, etc. There are chances that today that student is the most successful of the entire batch, and at times in your alum meets or in your group, you wonder, what did that guy do to become successful in his life? What do you think attributed to this individual's success in life? I'm leading you to, something very important. So I want you all to think about it. Also, because most of us would be parents here, and these are years when we need to invest in our children. So think, what did that average student do so that he became so successful in life? Apart from luck, kismat, जो हम कहते हैं, kismat के अलावा, focus and balance, power of his or her dedication. I'm looking for more responses. What made that individual very successful in life? Social networking. Great. Got 3 responses. I have more than 130 participants. Focus. Okay. Took risk of starting the business. Dedication. Can I look at more responses? Anything which is there in your head needs to come out on the chat box. Focus, extrovert, kismat, inner drive, discipline, risk-taking, truth, passion, lovely. Nothing to lose, discipline and determination, passion. Okay, do what he felt like doing. He used to act much, had a positive thinking, dedication, honesty, bingo. So the answers that is coming in the chat box is nothing but components of emotional intelligence. This is what it takes to be successful in life. Now, let me talk about what is emotional intelligence. So IQ is a word that we have been harping on it as, you know, as an education system, as a society, that IQ is very important, etc. I'm not denying IQ is important, but IQ helps you get very good marks. It gives you a great start in your life. You're very good at logic, numbers, calculation, etc. It will lead you to a place, but sustenance and success in a place is largely dependent on the level of you know, how good or how bad your EQ is. And what is EQ? Exactly the responses that you have given over here. So what they say, that it is not your IQ, but it is your EQ which decides how successful you become in life. So what are the components of EQ? How do we raise it, etc.? I will come to that a little later. So what I'm trying to say here is that that particular student who became very successful in life may be average in IQ, but is short, very high in EQ. Now, IQ and EQ are two separate factors, and they are not they're interdependent. They're not you know, interdependent. They are absolutely independent numbers. So somebody who's very high on IQ and somebody is very high on EQ, both together becomes those big leaders that we know in life. The Steve Jobs of the world is what they become. If you are average in IQ, but you're very high in your EQ, your chances of success is much higher vis-a-vis this. Now, the good news is, while IQ is a constant number, EQ is a trainable component. So, which means to become successful in life, we cannot do anything about EQ. I'm born with a number which will largely remain constant, but EQ is something, if I raise it up, my chances of becoming successful is definitely very, very high in life. So what do we do and how do we get there? As managers, as parents, as leaders, emotional intelligence is a component which is definitely needed, because we are working with people. We are not working in individual silo. Had I been a scientist, had I been an individual whose work was completely you know, not unrelated to anybody else, it would have been brilliant if I was high on IQ and my EQ was low. I could have managed without people around me. But if I am in a role where there are people working with me, the kind of people who are working with you, think of it, is your peers, your team members, your customers and clients, even your, you know, the support system around you, which is your family, even people like your drivers and your other resources in the house, they also, your housekeeping stuff, they all contribute to your emotional well-being. And if these people are not managed well, we definitely cannot focus on becoming successful in life. So this is the definition of emotional intelligence. And since when did emotional intelligence become very, very famous? I don't know how many of you know the story of marshmallows. So I will talk about this story before I get into your own scores. So there was a study which Stanford University did, and they picked up children, small children of age 4 to 6 years over a period of good 25 years from different geographical locations. And these children were were used for a social experiment. So what basically they did, that they used to send small children, keep small children in a room where they were given marshmallows, and they were told, so marshmallows is another variant of chocolate, and they were told that you are not supposed to eat these until I come back and I give them to you. Till such time you can play but not eat these chocolates. And children were monitored through a camera inside the room. Most of the children were definitely attracted towards the marshmallows. They would look at it, they would want to eat it, taste it. Some children could resist, others could not. Some would just pick it up, lick it and leave it back, etc. And the observations for each and every student, each and every child was recorded. And likewise, such experiments happened in various locations across 25 years. And these students, these children were studied, and their life progression was tracked, and it was found that there was a very strange correlation that children who were able to resist eating the chocolates became very, very successful in life. And children who gave in to the temptation and could not resist eating the chocolate were people who, most of them, the ones who had very poor self-control, gave in to drug abuse, or had a lot of problems in terms of family, profession. They really did not do well in life. The ones who were in between, who gave up over a point of time, remained mediocres. Now, this is when the birth of emotional intelligence happened. And in 1995, Time magazine came up saying, this was a cover page of Time magazine saying, it's not your IQ. It's your emotional intelligence, which is the best predictor of success in life. And it redefines what it means to be smart. So all of you sitting here, let's understand, IQ जो है वो है, अब तो change नहीं कर सकते हैं. But to become successful in life, I'm sure we all want to do better from where we are today. This is what is the trainable component, and this is what we can work on. So I have a lot of people who have raised hands. So you could... so if you've raised hands, I do not know how can I unmute you here, because the controls are not with me. So Gunjan has raised her hand. Why don't you ask your questions on the chat box? It's easier for me to monitor that ways. So my dear participants, I don't want this to remain a monologue and me talking. I have done a considerable bit of sharing here. You have any questions? You have any concerns? Why don't you write your questions here? I'll be more than happy to answer. So the limited point that I've been able to drive till now, that your emotional intelligence, your EQ, is a very, very important component which decides your success in life. There are two components of EQ. The components of EQ is, one is me and the second is others. And it's not that, one part of it is poor, so the second part of it will also be poor. I will break this down into different categories and explain it to you. So the way emotional intelligence works is that there are two parts of it. One is me and one is others. So when I say me, it means two things here. One is understanding myself, and second is regulating myself. When it comes to others, it comes as understanding others, and second is my interpersonal skills, which is managing my relationship with others. So there are four things that come in the EQ. I understand myself, I can regulate myself, I understand others, and I can manage others and relationships, or let's say I can use emotions to maximize profitability or productivity. Okay, the example is renunciation, holding back one's desires, a sole determinant of success in life. Uh, so again, you leading me. So this is my area of research subject, So we are not talking about renunciation of desires. We are talking about self-control. So let's put it like this. So the way Aristotle defined it, he said it's okay to be angry, but to be angry with the right person for the right reason at the right time and to the right degree is what is emotional intelligence. So being angry is not something that we are saying that don't, but being angry at the right time with the right person for the right reason and to the right degree is emotional intelligence. So what we are saying that you should be the one controlling your emotions and not the emotions controlling you. And while I say this, we all know we have good days and bad days. 140 plus here in this and 147, and I can assure you that there would be probably everyone who will say that at some point of time they simply lost control. And later there are times when you also realize that I overreacted to a situation. We do at times overreact to a situation and later go back and feel apologetic about it. How many of you here has not lost it on their team member and later realized that probably I got a little too angry and I could have managed this relationship in a better way? I'm sure there are people sitting here. Would we agree? Can you at least give me a heads up here? Okay, so Vivo 1609 has raised a hand. So yes, so many of us, see there are 9-10 participants who agree that they have lost it. In the lockdown, how many of you have lost it in your house? I mean, with children and even your resources. So when I'm talking about emotional control, I'm actually talking about that there are times that we later we feel bad. Now, don't forget your team members are people who are going to run for you again and you need to get work done from them. Think about those customers who make you do so much of work and at the end say कि नहीं मुझे अभी नहीं करना है, let me give, take some time. The expression, we can't lose it on the customer for sure, but the expression that comes sometimes on the face is not very pleasant, and we know that. Now don't forget, you might have to go back to this customer after 2 months again, and at that time if you feel sheepish about your behavior, it definitely means that we need to get a little bit of control here. Okay, let me flip the context from others to self. We all wrote down the emotions in the morning, the first exercise that I made you all do, the emotions that you wake up with in the morning. Now your emotions, the feeling that you have in the morning basically gives rise to your action, and that action eventually gets you results. So if I wake up every morning grumpy, how many of us, अभी तो लॉकडाउन है, कितने लोग मंडे मॉर्निंग ब्लूज के शिकार हैं यहाँ पे, यार फिर मंडे, कितने लोग हैं जो मुझे कहते हैं मैं संडे रात से ही डिप्रेस्ड हो जाता हूँ क्योंकि कल ऑफिस जाना है. Yes, I have 8 participants raising their hand immediately. Yes, 9. So many of us are very depressed from Sunday night because it's a Monday again. Now this is the emotional control. I'm not saying ki, we should have the ascetic life and guru and all that. Nahi possible. I'm not saying that. Kitne hands raise ho rahe hain. सुबह उठ करके मुझे लगता है मुझे ऑफिस नहीं जाना है. Okay, you feel, somebody feels energetic on. So Mitesh, great. I am sure HR is noting that. So we have some participants who look forward to going on Monday morning. Great. So some of us don't feel great when we wake up. I wake up grumpy. I don't feel so good about something. I feel low. My responses are also going to be of that type. Okay, let me park this one. How many people are there in this session who have decided कि I need to lose weight, so I'm going to start dieting, but we lose the tempo in between? We want to start a morning walk and that morning walk happens for some days और फिर नहीं होता है, या लगता है कल से start करेंगे या फिर कल से करेंगे या उसके बाद करेंगे. I okay, there are so many of us. We want to start a reading habit and then we lose. just determination से हम शुरू करते हैं और ये शुरू करना चाहते हैं, वो continue नहीं रहता है. You know what? These are all components of emotional intelligence. Adherence to what your conscious mind decides is a component of emotional intelligence. So think of it. Think of all the big business leaders that you can think of. Have you realized these are people who say that I wake up in the morning, and they do run for 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, do a yoga, follow a diet, etc. You know, it's about self-control. It's about leadership. There are different components of EQ, and one of which is my self-control. And I have seen in my career that people who are high on self-control become big leaders. I will break it up further going down, and I will also share a questionnaire, a small little questionnaire which we all can fill up to understand where we are in terms of our EQ numbers and what we need to work on. Okay, so there are people who have been doing morning walks every day. So fair. Again, you know, if I get into the pain and pleasure theory and all that, ये थोड़ा 1.5 घंटे का time मेरे लिए थोड़ा short है. As it is, this is a subject where I can speak for 2 days altogether. So I'll just keep it somewhere restricted, and sometime we'll definitely discuss here. So putting it in another way, emotional intelligence is thinking about what you're feeling and feeling about what you are thinking. And not many of us know why we are upset or angry at certain times. I don't like this team member. I don't get good vibes from this team member. ये थोड़ा tentative और casual approach वाला बंदा है. We have these feelings. If you deep dive and try to understand, many times आपके पास वजह भी नहीं है किसी team member को dislike करने का. And we might just be wondering why I don't like this person. Why am I feeling about this person? And if you realize, it's again a cause and effect thing. I don't like it. He senses that my responses are like this. And eventually the relationship does not become or remain fruitful at all. So we should know our, our EI, and we should work on it to become successful, because we are not working in isolation. Eventually, we are dealing with individuals. So even if I'm dealing with regulators, a regulatory body also consists of individual people. And all these individual people come with different backgrounds and different histories. We all have different histories. We all come with different conditioning, different background, different experiences. And when you are a manager, when you're a leader, each one of them who is working with you will be different. I can definitely act and say, but they have to acclimatize to me. Why should I acclimatize to them? Remember, you need to get work done. The way I sell it in the organization, I tell people, you want people to work with you without you giving them a raise, without you giving them a promotion, and without you being able to allow them to leave early, come late, and be casual, right? You want the person to be highly motivated and give their 100% at all times, where at times you are not even in the position to return in terms of, tangibles, or let's say bonuses, etc. We all want people to be self-motivated and working. So you have to know what gets the person ticking, what gets the person motivated, and what gets the person working. If I'm a leader, even a political leader, what works on, if you look at political parties, they have an entire team which is working on the emotional intelligence of people in their area. So even if you look at speeches of, I've been tracking speeches of Abraham Lincoln, who would go and change his speech in a certain part of the US and in the certain other part. And these were political campaigning, which he has done. In certain places, he's talked about black and white equality. In certain places, he's talked about white and white being so, you know, of course, those weren't the days where media could come together and compare the way we can do it now. What were they working on? They were working on emotions of people and how they can get the emotions of people working for them. When you are a leader, you have to know what emotions make people work and what emotions get you successful in life. So are we good so far? Any questions here? Okay, so I'm assuming none. I'm breaking down the emotional intelligence into 4 parts here. The 4 aspects of emotional intelligence is, the first one is self-awareness. My emotional self-awareness, my self-confidence, my accurate self-assessment. How well do you know yourself? And this question I ask many people. ये बहुत deep context है, एक पूरे दिन का प्रोग्राम इस पे रन होता है, because इसमें esteem बहुत चीजें आती है. I'm just touching upon the point. How well do you know yourself? How well do you understand your emotions? How well are you in terms with your own feelings? Which is your self-recognition. The second one is self-regulation. And here comes your self-discipline and your time management. The most important component here is your time management when I'm talking about self-regulation. My control, my transparency, my adaptability, my achievement drive, and my initiative. Here comes, can I control my emotions in such a way? या मुझे गुस्सा आता है तो मेरे शक्ल पे दिख जाती है and I write that email lashed out in anger. This is your self-regulation. Many of us write emails that later when we look at it, we feel, oh my God, I overreacted. So if your self-regulation is high, you will always be in control. As a leader, जिसको हम कहते हैं diplomacy, जिसको हम कहते हैं political correct होना, don't you think it is needed? Sometimes it is. So Ajay has written a very long mail. Yes. And that again, you know, is people find safety in numbers, and that is why people don't want to come out. And that is again a component of your self-recognition again. The third component is social recognition, which means understanding others. Why is it important? If I'm in sales, this is the most important component for me. I should be able to look at people and understand what the other person wants. I should be able to look at my team members and understand what the person is going through. I should be empathetic towards them. And this is a basic skill which is missing because many people still believe it is my way or highway. So awareness about others. Your each and every team member is different. Your each and every customer is different. Your each and every family member and sibling is different. How many times do you really stop and observe them and you listen to them with an intent to understand them is my question. And why I ask this is because let's think of a situation in the morning when you meet people in the office and you wish good morning to each other and you ask people, how are you? How many of you actually wait to listen to the response that the other person has to give? When you ask, how are you? Do you really wait for the response? Most of the times we ask that question and we shift to the next question. We have already, because for me that's a script. You ask, और सब ठीक ठाक, सब कुछ ठीक है? अच्छा मेरे को एक बात बताओ. Think, you call up your team member in these times and you pick up the phone. Okay, listen, or how are you? Acha, listen, what about this? We just go on. Even if we have paused for a minute, we have not really paused to get a response which we are going to process. So there comes your social recognition. And the fourth one, which is again very, very important from an organizational perspective to become successful in life, is your social regulation, which is again relationship management, inspiration leadership, developing others, influencing others, change catalyst, conflict management, building bonds between team members, teamwork, and collaboration. So these are 4 different components of emotional intelligence. I could be low in one and I could be high in others. For example, if I have to look at me, I am very good in the social context, but I'm very poor when it comes to self-regulation. I have an awareness that that is low. I know of people, for example, I know my husband is great at self-awareness and self-management, self-regulation, but he is very poor when it comes to relationship management. So each one of us could have one area which could be a little lower as compared to the others. The point is, if we are aware about that area, we can work on it. Are you keen to know what your area is? Can we do a small little test here? Yes, so this topic gets us all interested. So what I'm going to do here is that, so there was something that we decided to share it earlier, but then we decided let's do it there because some of us will do, some of us will not. There are a set of 16 questions which I'm going to show you on the screen. What you need to do is that on a scale of 0 to 7, you need to rate yourself from least to most on these questions. Scoring, I'll tell you later. So please take a pen and a paper, and I'm going to show you the questions. We'll be able to do this, and you have to be honest here. I am not going to ask you your scores. So you have to be absolutely honest, and remember to write down the question number and the response next to the question. I'm sure you can see the screen. Can you all see the screen here? Great. So see how you stack up on these 4 dimensions of EI. Below each description are the items of the test. Just read each one and rate yourself on a scale, 7-point scale from least to most characteristic of you. Be honest, as only you are reading your own scores. None of us is going to check with you here. So these are the questions. I'm sure you can read it on the screen. From least to most, from 0 to 7. Question number 1, what do you rate yourself? Question number 2. So once you have finished till 11th, I'll scroll down. There are 16 questions in total. If you have any doubt or if you want me to explain a question, please write it on the chat box. I will do that for you. Okay, so there are 16 questions. On these questions, you need to rate yourself. 7-point scale pace, from 0 to 7. So for example, I'll do the first one for you. I have a good sense of why I have certain feelings most of the time. How do I see myself here? If I think great, I will write 7. If I see very bad at it, I'll write 0. अगर मैं बीच में हूँ, don't be politically correct, try and be what you are. Fourth question, I always know whether or not I am happy. I'm in touch with my feelings. मुझे पता लगता है मैं खुश हूँ कि नहीं हूँ. Am I happy or am I not happy, or what is there to be happy? I always know. I kind of have that feeling. Ninth question, I always set goals for myself and then try my best to achieve them. So I'm setting goals for myself. I'm sure most of us sitting here in this session would have set goals for themselves, short term, long term, and all that. So I set them and I also try my best to achieve them. Okay, so once you have finished all the 16 questions, I will tell you how to score. So assuming we have done the 16 questions, you need to do a totaling for the responses of question 1, 2, 3, and 4, totaling of questions 5, 6, 7, and 8, and totaling of questions 9, 10, 11, and 12, and 13, 14, 15, and 16. So you will get 4 scores here. Total of the responses of question 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. Okay, so I'm about to change the screen. I'm assuming we all have done. Scoring slide, I'll show it to you again. It's there in the presentation also. Now, these are the 4 components. Or here, you can see your scores here. Now, the highest that one could have got in this is 28. Now, I will not say that whether you got less than 14 or you got less than, of the 4 components, whichever you think is the least needs maximum attention. Now, this test is not the psychometric test that I'm talking about. There's a proper psychometric assessment, which is a fairly long drawn test, and it's a paid inventory. This test, which I just now shared with you, is an indicative test, and chances are it will change. Do scores change? Absolutely it does. आप देखो आपको कल प्रमोशन मिलेगा, आपका सेल्फ मैनेजमेंट कैसे ऊपर जाता है. Your team does brilliant numbers. आप देखो कैसे relationship management improve होता है. So ये numbers change होते रहते हैं. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि ये absolute number नहीं है. मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले कहा था कि it's not like IQ that it is constant, but it is definitely a trainable component in different stages of life, depending upon how successful we are, how much power we have, what's our position in terms of finance or society. These components keep changing. For you to become successful in life, you need to be very good in your emotional intelligence, and these, all the 4 parameters, needs to do very well. Now, to become a great manager, you need to have the social awareness and the relationship management component really very high. If you look at your scores and if you see that your social awareness component is little low, it means you are somewhere working in your own silo. There is a huge possibility that you are not in touch with the emotions of your team members. It could also mean that you're a little far-fetched from reality, what the customer expects, what the client wants, what your team members are expecting from you. And chances are also that आप अपने खुद के thoughts में काफी busy रहते हो. If your social awareness is very low, you could also be an individual who does not listen. Hearing or listening mein farak hai. And what I'm trying to say here is, if your social awareness quotient is very low, the chances are that you are not paying attention, you do not take feedback from people. If my social awareness count is low, it means I do not have the capability to face criticism, or I do not want to face criticism. So that is something that you need to work on. If your self-management is poor, or the scores are very low in self-management, it means the chances are that your discipline in life and your time management is really low. You could be an individual जिसके laptop पे सारा data बिखरा पड़ा है. You could be the kind of person जिसको हर बार email ढूंढने में name search करना पड़ता है. You could be an individual who ends up working very late sometimes without an idea कि पूरा दिन मैंने किया क्या. You could be somebody you know, who has a lot of aspirations in life, और करना है, goals भी बनाए हैं, लेकिन मेरे पास कोई plan नहीं है वहां तक कैसे पहुंचने का. If your self awareness component is very low, it means people know you better. You know, the kind of person who you are. I remember there was an individual in my organization. Actually, he was our boss, and we knew what could get him bugged, and we used to play that game amongst ourselves कि अभी देखना उसको एक मेल भेजते, देखो वो कैसे भड़कता हुआ आएगा. We had his remote control in our hand, and he was not aware. You know, these are those people who could be very moody sometimes, or they could be people who are very restless also. They don't want to think, they don't want to accept their mistake, they don't want to get into you know, that deep meditation world because they find it very frivolous, or they want to shake it off saying that it's frivolous. Relationship management, if that component is very low, it basically means कि आपके झगड़े बहुत हो रहे हैं, people don't want to work with you, and you are causing happiness whenever you go from a place. You are that person who does all the work. You do a lot of back-end work, but eventually business आपके पास नहीं आता है. After all that hard work that you're doing, you have no clue sometimes why people leave you and quit your team. You have no clue what the customer really wants. इतना तो भगाया उसने, अब क्या चाहिए उसको? You are somebody who believes that सब लोगों को एक तरीके से treat करते हैं and it works. So your assumptions about people and relationships are not working for you. So this is the way I would interpret the scores, and I would look at the scores. So do we have questions here? Do we have questions here, people? I would be more than happy, because this is a very important part of you know, the program, where evaluation is always important when we need to do some kind of improvement. I can't work on myself until I don't know what I need to work on myself. So if this test has given you some pointer, it is great to go ahead with it. Any questions here? I'm pausing for questions. For some reason, the chat box is not visible. How to control our emotions? I'm coming there, Praveen. I'll be there. However, in today's session, I'm actually focusing more on the others, but I will definitely answer that question before we end the session today. Because अगर वो आ जाए तो life में तो कोई problem ही नहीं हो. Okay. What is a good score? 28 is a brilliant score and it is unachievable. I should not, so I can see something which is coming. There's a Shero Shari also which somebody has written, okay. How does one improve? I'm going to talk about it. What should be the average score? See, average score 28 is a very unachievable number. So if you are anyway above 20, it's a good score. And if you are below 14, it definitely needs some work. How self-evaluation can help? Most of the people have an opinion that they are right. Why will I not have an opinion that I am right? Who I don't want to get into behaviors because it'll the session will go till it'll go like forever. Now I am a sum total of my experiences, background, and conditioning. And we all have different backgrounds, we all have different conditionings and experiences. So what I am a sum total of my history. You are a sum total of your history, and different histories come together and work. So what was the exact question? How does one improve? People improve with awareness. I'll give you a set of books at the end of program. If you really want to work on yourself, you should be reading. What would you say if one person is causing a lot of disharmony in the team and all the members except the one are in sync with you? Okay, so I see two questions. A person is causing a lot of disharmony. Please have a one-to-one with the person. The problem is that we don't have one-to-one and we always speak via media. Please take that person separately in a meeting room and ask him or her what is the problem. I'll anyways cover a little bit of it as we move forward. Please share the questions for reference. If you intend to do this for your family members, I will say don't do it, it might bomb. So for such evaluations, at times 360-degree perspective matters to. Yes, please take feedback. And if I see a lot of questions on self here. So again, I ask people, are you open to feedback? How many of you sitting here would love to get a feedback from your boss? How many of you on your own initiative go and ask your boss or your team members, let your boss be, or your peers, that give me a feedback? You know what? People want to give you a feedback, but your body language and your demeanor does not show that you're open to feedback. Somebody comes and tells you that, this is not working right. And we are immediately defensive. Why do you say so? We tend to believe people are biased, etc. Feedback कोई नहीं चाहता है. Let's be honest. हमें पेरेंट्स भी फीडबैक दे तो आज के टाइम में लोगों को अच्छा नहीं लगता. But one thing that we don't realize that feedback is what will get you growing. Positive feedback, yes, we all want. Area of improvement wala feedback nahi hai. Now again, probably I'll cover this in the subsequent session because feedback or advice may be farak hai. Most of you sitting here as managers would not be giving feedback, you would be giving advice to your team members. And that is why people don't like to take feedback. Feedback should not have emotions. There is a specific way of giving a feedback. We'll do that in subsequent sessions. So I will not spend too much of time here. Let me move forward and let me say, so eventually emotional intelligence is a total of intrapersonal and interpersonal, and both these combined together works and gets your emotional intelligence. And you need to work on both of these to become successful. Today, I'm not spending a lot of time on your intrapersonal. Maybe later in some subsequent session, we will talk more on intrapersonal, which is terms to your own self. We are going to spend our rest of the time on interpersonal, which is me and you. Because wo hona bahut zaruri hai. As a manager, that needs to work very well. Which I'm talking about is social awareness and social skills. Certain things, please understand, emotional intelligence is not a single thing. It's a mixture of many things that comes together. This is my research subject also, which I'm working on right now. So it's a mixture of attitude, feeling, thoughts, many things. It definitely predicts performance. It can be measured and it can be changed. Developing your EI will impact on all the areas of life. Today, as a parent, I know I do not push my children for marks. I push my children more towards building their emotional intelligence, because now I realize that marks, of course, is important to get you admissions, etc. IQ is important, but emotional intelligence is what is going to get you success. You know, all those people who know how to speak to get the work done. You know, all those people who can who know where to keep quiet, who know where to speak, who can control their emotions. You would have seen even you know, at the airport. I've mastered this art over a period of time since I started working on this. Even on a cancelled flight, I have finally learned and managed to get through one of the, you know, some airport staff to put me onto another flight and see if that can happen without any charges, or put me onto some other airline. Have I done this? You bet I have done this. I have learned to, and that is all because I have been following a set structure and practice. नहीं होना है, नहीं होगा, वो भी मेरे लिए एक learning है. But the only thing that I'm trying to drive here is that you can get people to do what you want them to do. Does it sound like manipulation? I don't know. But are people using it on you? Yes, they are using it on you. So your customers also play that on you, and that is how at times you agree on so many, you know, baad mein lete hain, etc., etc. So emotions are something which people are using every day. So coming to the others part, we are talking about social skills. And when I say social skills, it's your entire range of leadership skills which is needed here. So which is influencing, persuading, managing conflict. We will talk about this as a separate topic in the next session. It also helps you communicate appropriately and build stronger and more meaningful relationships. Let me show you a video here. I'm sure all of you have seen this movie, or most of you would have seen this movie. I just want you to see this clip here. We all have seen this movie and the scene where this finally Sanjay Dutt gives a big hug to this fellow, and hence the person melts down and starts feeling good about himself. Emotional intelligence. What Sanjay Dutt did here was that he was able to understand what this person is going through, and he used emotions to maximize performance from that individual. That is what we all need as human beings. Somebody very rightly said that you need to show care and concern when the person deserves it the less. So when your team member is having a bad day, when your team member is low on his performance and numbers, is underconfident, that is a day where you need to play the Munna Bhai. That is a day when you need to hold hand of this guy and tell him that you're going to support him in the journey and you're going to work together rather than losing cool. So that is what I mean to say when I'm talking about social skills. I'm sorry about the audio. When we tried it worked. Let's see. Now I'm showing another case study out here on the screen, which I'm sure you can see this. Please read this, and I am going to ask you questions and I will need your responses here. Do you think a situation like this happens at workplace? Yes, very much. Lovely. And there are times where we would have been the Rahul, right? कभी हम मनोज भी होते हैं, कभी हम राहुल भी होते हैं. ज्यादातर राहुल होते हैं, is it? Okay. Now, how do you think Manoj can get away from this tricky situation? Could you respond to the chat box? By agreeing. I'm sure we all have by not suggesting what he is thinking. Okay. So we cover up what our true ideas and thoughts are. Do you think the organization benefits like this? The organization always suffers if good ideas do not come forward. Okay, Rahul says that I'll give an alternate idea. So some people would also like to take that risk. Explaining both positive and negative. Just follow, boss is always right. Many of us go by that. Now let's not think about we as subordinates. Let's be in the shoes of Rahul right now, and let's not think about Manoj right now. And my question here is again, why will Manoj not speak his mind? Is Manoj scared of being scolded? Fear. Boss ka fear. Okay. He's had bad experience, he might shout. Now, I'm asking all of you as managers and leaders here, if your team member is not speaking up to you, is not freely able to share his or her ideas, has the fear that you might snap at him or her when he or she opens his mouth, trust me, you are not in a collaborative relationship. For effective leadership, for effective management, it is very, very important that your team speaks to you. It is very, very important that they should not be scared. Manoj will definitely put his idea, let boss take the best decision. So Manoj should put forward his ideas, what I'm trying to say. Management suffers for not listening to team members, absolutely. Why are we even talking about management? I'll say even as managers, as let's not assume that I know the best. Many of us assume, thinking we grow up in the system saying, ऐसा ही होता है. It doesn't work like that. A lot of people who are younger and junior, they come with a lot of fresh ideas. The organization benefits if we listen to all the ideas. So Manoj will not speak his mind if Manoj has a fear that the boss might not take it in the right spirit. What I'm trying to say here is that people speak where they find it safe to speak. Please make it safe for people to speak to you. If your team members are not, we are talking about raising our emotional intelligence here. Remember, we are talking about social skills, we're talking about empathy, we're talking about relationship management. And one of the first and the most important core things out here is that please make it safe for people to speak in front of you. People should be able to open their mouth and speak their mind. And this is not only about organization, this is also about family. If your children are not speaking up to you, these are the children who hide information from their parents. How you choose to respond is what sets the tone of the relationship, and further going, children do not share with their parents. So please create safety for people when they speak to you. अगर किसी ने आकर के बोला कि मैंने ये गलती की है, आप कैसे respond करते हो? Do you really snap, start shouting? I know somebody who would throw papers, etc. कहना कि it's an open door policy, कहना कि you can come and speak to me and I'm available, I'm just a call away, एक बात है. और दूसरा बात है कि जब कोई कहता है तो आप कैसे उस पर रिएक्ट या कैसे आप रिस्पॉन्ड करते हो. One of the best reactions is that when you don't like what the person is saying, give yourself some time before reacting. Say, let me think and process, I'll come back to you. That is one mantra which has helped me save many relationships, and I'm sure Sandeep and Vikas is aware of that, because I've been talking about a situation. So when I'm really very angry at somebody and I'm going to say something, I rather choose to not talk to the person till such time the fog is settled in my mind and I do not damage the relationship. So please make it safe for people to speak when they want to say something to you. Point number 2, people speak when they believe that you respect them. If as a boss I feel कि ये मेरे team members को कुछ नहीं आता है, they know nothing, They are scared to speak in the meeting. Many of them do not speak. I know a lot of junior resources who are very smart, but they do not speak because वो कहते हैं कि बॉस तो फिर उसको शूट डाउन ही करने वाला है. So please make the other person believe that you respect them. So please create that mutual respect. As an individual, I should respect the other person. The third point here, I will listen to you. I will let you speak. I will hear you out in detail. But agreeing or not agreeing is my choice. Please understand there's a difference. As a boss, I'm never saying, so as Rahul and Manoj, the only thing that Rahul needs to do here is to listen to Manoj. Following Manoj or agreeing to Manoj's idea is point number 2. Point number 1 is listening to Manoj. So here, all of you who are Rahuls and your Manojs are not talking to you, understand you need to get them to speak to you. Whether you choose to act on that, you need to work as per their understanding is definitely your choice. You can always disagree to that, but if people are not opening their mouth in front of you, you have a serious problem here. You know, the journey between manager and leadership is that, and I have realized that people sitting at the top are more open to ideas than people who are at mid senior level. And that's my observation. I've realized people who have grown in this, and have become very big leaders, they listen to people for 3 things: content, intent, and emotion. Please listen to people for content, intent, and emotion. Management hears. Whether they choose to act or not is a separate thing, because they need to look at the entire fitment of a lot of things into the organization space. But hearing and listening is important. Actioning or not is always a choice. So my 2 little bits out here is that please agree to disagree. That is always a choice. And you need to listen to people. That's the utmost and the most sincerest form of respect. So 4 things that we can start doing right from now to ensure that, my relationship with my team members is perfect is that please make it safe for people to speak. Point number 2, you can always, agree to disagree. Third is ensure that there is mutual respect. And fourth is listen to those people around you. If you create these 4 things, you have definitely moved a couple of notches up in your leadership, in your managerial style. So this is something which is the least that we can do here. Do we have any questions here? Management suffers for not listening to team members and vice versa. Management will suffer if management does not listen, and also people will stop taking responsibility and ownership of their plan. See, it depends how you also say. You need to sell something. So when I do a session on negotiation, I will say it's sometimes you need to sell an idea, and that requires more skills than just sounding it. So we'll talk about that also. And management listens. Whether they choose to act or not is, again, like I said, there are a lot of factors which come into play. Let's come down to ourselves right now and let's think as Rahuls, because this is a session on managerial effectiveness. And when I talk about managerial effectiveness, my only point out here is that let's become better managers than what we were before. So these are 4 little things that we can definitely do. Isme koi badi baat nahi, it's not rocket science. Not only to your team members, but also to your family members. If you do these 4 things, your relationship with your family, your siblings, your in-laws, your distant relatives will improve. And that's why I said emotional intelligence is a trainable component. Now think of 3 situations where you'd become hostage to your emotions and you had to show your anger. You ended up showing your anger on someone else. चलो 3 situations शायद बहुत ज़्यादा time लगेगा. Let's think of one recent situation where you became very angry and you vented out your anger on someone. My question is not on the someone. My question is, what instigated your anger? What got you angry? Can you think? Okay, 6 participants raised their hand. I don't know, my dear participants, how I get you on the screen to come and talk to me. The only access that I have is the chat box. So why don't you write here? What instigated your anger? Irrational behavior. Okay. Okay. Okay, stubbornness of subordinates when someone does not listen to you. Okay, and someone does lip service. Uncontrolled. Stress. Okay, great. Now let me mitigate a myth here. Nobody makes you angry. You make yourself angry. Certain myths about emotions. Emotions don't settle upon you like a fog. They are not foisted upon you by others. No matter how comfortable it makes you feel saying it, others don't make you angry. You make yourself angry. You make yourself scared, annoyed, insulted, and you are the only one who create emotions. Once you've created or upset emotions, you have only one option, is that to be acted on by them. However, there is another option. You can act on them, and that is when it comes to strong emotions, you can either find a way to master them or fall hostage to them. And here's how it unfolds. I'm talking about a very, very interesting theory here. So somebody said the stubbornness of the team member, or a comment that somebody passed, somebody's insensitivity. Now that is an action. When that action happens, that situation or that trigger does not have a meaning. Meaning हम associate करते हैं उसको. So when you see something or when you hear something, you tell yourself a story. And when you tell yourself a story, you start feeling in that particular way. And when you start feeling in that particular way, you start acting in the same manner to justify your story. Let me give you an example. One of the organizations for whom I was doing a training program, I had a very good friend who was the HR head, who said that you need to get in touch with the L&D head for the further programs. The L&D head was a female who I did not really get very good vibes when we met. I called her up a month back. She did not pick up the phone. I called her up again after 7 days. She did not pick up the phone and she did not reply to my WhatsApp message. Now, this is an event. What is the story that I'm telling myself? I can say many stories. I can say that HR वाले बहुत busy हैं अभी appraisals को लेकर. I can also say कि L&D के numbers freeze हो गए. They don't have budgets. Or I can also say that, oh, she is such a woman. I got this feeling right from the start that she is like this. I can say how unprofessional she is. I can say whatever story I want to myself. And the kind of story that I keep telling myself, I start feeling like this for that particular person. And then when I meet this HR friend of mine, because he happens to be a friend, I'm going to act in that particular fashion. So if I feel that she has been very bad or monstrous to me, I'll say, you know, ye to mera friend hai, aur ye uski team member hai. I can say him whatever I want. I'm exactly acting on the story that I tell myself. So my emotions are dependent on the story that I'm telling myself every time. And let's not forget, stories provide our rationale for what's going on. Even if you don't realize that you're telling yourself stories, even right now as I speak to you, you are telling a story to yourself. Any set of facts can be used to tell an infinite number of stories. Control your stories. What is the story that you're telling yourself? The world is bad, the world is unfair, my bosses don't listen, this organization is not good, I was so happy in that place and this was that, and ye aisa hai, ye waisa hai, team members aise. These are all the stories. ये events हैं जिनको आपने mix up करके उसमें बहुत सारी stories बनाई है, and now you've started feeling in that particular way, and obviously we react in that certain way. So all those subordinates who we don't like, all those peers who we think are no gooder, all those customers who we feel are not really worth the time and energy, may not be like that. Probably it's a story that you've been telling yourself, and these stories have taken control. Any questions here? Because that's a lot of data that I've put into place in a very short time. I will normally take, yeah, so Amisha ma'am says 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a beautiful book. If need be, I can do a session on this one also quickly, you know, all the 7 habits. And that actually sums up how we should work as a profession. So I'm a Franklin Covey trainer for 7 Habits. So that's always been my favorite. So please take control of the stories that you are telling yourself all the time. If you always act as a victim and believe you're a victim, you will always remain a victim. If you tell yourself that I'm a winner and I can, you know, win this, we shall pass this, you will remain one, you will become one. So why? Because the stories that you keep telling yourself will build your emotions, and your emotions push you to take those actions, and it is all aligned. You would have realized कि एक event का हर किसी का reactions और response अलग होता है, और वो response और वो reaction हमारे खुद के control में. So the bottom line here is that please take control of these stories. Please change the story that you are telling yourself, and once you change the story, you will start feeling better. Okay, so we are coming to the close of the session, and let me ask this question to you. What is empathy? What is empathy? Yes, Payal, the stories are definitely based on our experiences and repetitive. Absolutely. We keep replaying the same stories over and over, and we justify it. Our mind always, it's like Google Map. अगर आप एक रास्ते पे गए हो, it will always pick up that route. Empathy, meaning of empathy, putting yourself in other shoes. I just waited for that answer. Thank you, Nitin, for giving me that answer. So very beautifully, empathy को लोग explain करते हैं, putting yourself in. Yes, Sandeep, I'll just finish this topic. I'll go back to the slide. Empathy, people say putting yourself into somebody else's shoes is empathy. Swami Vivekananda said, to wear somebody else's shoes, you need to take off your shoes first. How do you normally empathize? Think. हम कैसे empathize करते हैं? हम लोगों को कहते हैं, I understand. However, the moment you use the word however, the other person's brain stops processing words which were spoken before however. So empathy basically means really getting into the shoes of that person after you remove your shoes. So which means being in your place. I cannot be in your place and my place at the same time. I need to get up from my place to sit in your place. And the moment I sit in your place, only then I will understand what you're going through. So if I'm talking about empathy, it basically means I am in your place. Sandeep, this slide for you. So when I say empathy, all you managers here, please really have empathy for everybody you are working with. Understand, कोई ऐसे respond किया तो क्यों किया? वो मुन्ना भाई वाला जो scene है, वो empathy का ही scene है. I exactly know what you're going through. I can feel. So how I work on this, I try to be in that person's position and I think, what would the person be expecting most this time? I'll give you an example. I'm a mother of a teenager. And when my son makes a some mischief, something, one day I got a call from the school that, he's had a fight in the school, etc., etc. You need to come. I went to the school. I got to know he and another kid, they had really boxed, and one had hit the other one fell down, etc., whatever. I can see my son sitting very timidly outside the supervisor's room, and the other kid also. And he was very scared. The moment I reached, he knew it was, it's difficult for us to pull out from a day's work and reach the school. An average parent would have given a big glare and said, just wait, and I'm going to take away all your frills that you get in life, be it your mobile, be it your PS4. I'm going to punish you. I'm going to do everything. And both the kids were equally scared. The other parent had not. I went there and I gave them a big look and I just asked, किसी की हड्डी वड्डी तो नहीं टूटी है, चोट तो नहीं लगा, नहीं. And I gave both of them a hug. And instantly I saw the emotion lift in both the kids. And they were, so when the supervisor came and she saw me laughing, and the supervisor was like, what is this? I said, what do you expect a 13, 14-year to do? They have to channelize the energy. Of course, I went inside and I did talk about it. But trust me, that was a day when I figured out that my child is not going to hold back what are his problems. And why? Because I do not react. And that is the empathy. I just thought कि अगर मैंने ये किया होता तो मैं मेरे पेरेंट्स से क्या एक्सपेक्ट करती उस वक्त. मैं एक्सपेक्ट करती कि मेरे पेरेंट्स मुझे समझते. Later, of course, at the dinner table at night, we asked, "Acha, batao, hua kya tha?" And when he said, we realized that it was a major mistake was his. I gave him that look at that time. And then instead of me preaching him, don't do this and don't do that, he came back and said, I'm so sorry, I'll never do that again. डेफिनेटली इस बात का फर्क उस पे ज्यादा पड़ेगा जब उसने कमिट किया है कि मैं ये नहीं करूंगा, rather than me telling him that you will not do this. So this is an example of empathy that you need to show it to people around you. The last slide here, I love this slide. It always gives me a lot of understanding of how an organization works here. I use this slide in typically every program that I use, conduct for managers or leaders. Most of you would have seen this theory in your MBA days. And Herzberg's motivation theory says that in any organization you work, there are two types of factors, the motivation factors and the hygiene factors. Motivation factors kya hai? Absence of motivation factors do not make an employee unhappy. But presence of it makes an employee very happy. I repeat, absence of motivation factors do not make an employee unhappy, but presence of it makes them very happy. Hygiene factors, absence of it makes employee very unhappy and he quits and goes. And presence of it, to chahiye hi hame. Hygiene factors is under the control of the management, HR, organization policies. And इसके बेसिस पे लोग रुकते, अगर नहीं है हाइजीन फैक्टर्स तो लोग डिससैटिस्फाइड होते हैं, क्विट करके चले भी जाते हैं. होता है तो लोग रुकते हैं. बट मोटिवेशन फैक्टर्स ऐसी चीज है कि ना हो तो भी लोग काम करते ही रहते हैं, एक एवरेज या बिलो एवरेज परफॉर्मर की तरह. They don't quit and go. Why? Because hygiene factor takes care of everything. but अगर motivation factors हैं, they are going to deliver more than 100%. और ये motivation factors management या HR के control में नहीं होता है. Motivation factors is in the control of the immediate supervisor. So all you managers sitting here, understand the box on the top is what you need to provide to your team members, because if that is absent, they will not quit and go, but they will be dissatisfied, or they will just be working at an optimal or suboptimal level. They will not even quit, they will not even complain, they will not even perform, they're just present there. But if you provide these factors to them, they will give their best shot. So which I'm trying to say here is achievement, recognition, your appreciation, your applause, that email marking the whole senior management about the good work that that person is doing. The work itself, give some meaning, some responsibility, important task, show him a growth path, an advancement, work, setting goals for them. And these are things which an employee looks forward to. As a boss, we are responsible for that, and this is what we need to work on. I'm at the last screen, which is your key takeaways, but before that, a recap. And after that, I have a video. Before I do the recap, if you have any questions, so let me do the recap first, and then you can ask the questions here. So what we did today was I asked you to think about the emotions that you wake up with every morning. And I said that you should be aware of those emotions with, because your day starts with those emotions and your action is largely driven by the emotions. We talked about the student in your school or college who used to come first, who definitely, so there some of us also answered, yes, he is the most successful. So in this case, this is a student who was high on IQ and high on EQ also. And usually these people become big leaders. So on an average, people who had higher IQ fared better in life, because IQ helps you get good marks. It gets you can become a great scientist if you have a very high IQ, but to become a great leader and to become successful in life, successful relationships, you need to have a high EQ. EQ has 4 components: self and others. In self, I said self-awareness, self-regulation. In others, I talked about understanding others, and then your interpersonal skills. In all these 4, you need to be very good in the last 2, which is others, to become a successful leader, of course. But largely in life, to become successful, you need to have all the 4 very good. We tested our EI and we got our scores, and we realized, we also talked about the Marshmallow Experiment. We were working on the social skills. The video did not play, of course. I talked about a situation where there was a Manoj and Rahul case, where Rahul is the boss and people are scared to give him the right response because they are not sure how it would be taken. So people do not speak to you because they don't find it safe to speak. So create safety, ensure that there is respect. The person looks at it, that you respect that individual, listen to the person, agree to disagree. Also, others don't make you angry, you make yourself angry. It's a myth कि दूसरे हमें गुस्सा दिलाते हैं, गुस्सा हमारे अंदर है, दूसरे जब आते हैं तो वो ट्रिगर हो जाता है. And that is also responsible. The whole thing depends on the story that you keep telling yourself. So if you work on the stories that you keep telling yourself all the time, even right now, as I speak to you, there is some story that you're telling yourself. Take a control on that story. Otherwise, the story will take control of your life. Many of us love to live in the victim syndrome, in the victim mode, and being in that victim mode will never let us grow. Let's work and move towards the winner's mode. We talked about what is empathy, and I said empathy is supposed to be devoid of the word however and but. So it basically means being in that person's place, giving up your own place. And I talked about the Herzberg's motivation theory, where I said the components of motivation is completely in the hands of the reporting manager and not in the hands of the management. If you work on that, people will give you their 100%. So that was about the session. I have a last video which I want to play.
Hi, I'm Fatima.
Hi, Fatima. I'm Shubhada Gopalani.
So, Shubhada, today we're going to ask you a few questions about your family. Ready?
Yes.
How many members are there in your family?
6 of us.
My name is Dheeraj Gopalani.
Diya Dheeraj Gopalani.
Ramesh Gopalani.
Veer Dheeraj Gopalani.
Shobna Ramesh Gopalani.
Who are you closest to in your family?
Grandmother. My mother.
सबसे close है.
My wife Shubhada.
What's your favorite memory together as a family?
Dubai 2 years ago.
Boating in Nainital.
Last year we went to USA together.
We had a good time.
So you're a close-knit family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we are a close-knit family.
Who is Ria's favorite hero?
I think it is Shah Rukh Khan.
Hrithik Roshan.
Salman Khan. Shah Rukh Khan.
Do you know Veer's best friend's name?
Oh my god, that's a difficult one. Arush.
Ankur. Harsh.
What is your grandmother's favorite dish?
Dosa.
Karela.
Fast food पसंद है ज़्यादा.
Do you know Shubhada's dream holiday destination?
Mauritius.
I think it's Singapore.
Europe.
What do you think Ria wants to be when she grows up?
She wants to be a singer.
Maybe a gymnast.
Fashion designer.
If Dheeraj had to choose another profession, what would it be?
You know, billiards में ज़्यादा शौक रखते थे.
Could be a banker.
I would have been a cricketer.
Do you think you spend enough time with each other?
I think
Okay, so of course that was an ad. So I don't know how many of you could really hear the entire thing, but I'll just do a small recap. A close family brought together and questions asked, you know, about who's your child's best friend, and the parents get it wrong, or what is the favorite food of the mother, or a holiday destination. And while we all assume here that we know each other very well, and you saw the data which was playing, we spend more time on our phone. We spend hardly any quality time with each other. So if this is the state with immediate family, imagine what is the state with our team members who we assume that it is like this. It's a very powerful ad. I'll share the video with you all. You all can see the video later. And that should also give us insights into how we should be trying to understand other people, people who matter in our lives, people who are important to us, be it our children, be it our team members, be it our, your ecosystem in the office. Right now it is lockdown, but you spend 10 to 12 hours in the office, and spending that kind of time and yet not knowing each other could lead to a lot of misunderstandings. Please try to know people and help people understand. Okay, so somebody has asked, share the names of books to improve our EIs. There is only one book in EI which is like the best, which is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I'll be suggesting, when I finish the series of sessions, there are some 4-5 books which I will be suggesting, which are very powerful books to work on your personality and psychology, and that will help you to become better individuals and better managers. So Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence is one book. Another book that Daniel Goleman has written is Working with Emotional Intelligence. That has got more of professional context in the book. So that is book number 2. So if you read these books, there are also ebooks available. You can always pick up and implement them in your life. So having done the recap, having shown the videos, my question to you here is, in your pen and paper, why don't you pick up your action points? What are you going to start doing, or what are you going to stop doing? The date is of your choice. You can pick up today, or you can pick up 1st January 2021. It's totally your choice. Please write that down. Click that picture in your mobile phone so that the paper does not fly away like a flyer and it remains with you. That's the whole idea. If need be, send an email to yourself that it remains with you and you don't forget that this is what you have promised or intended to do. We are all adults and we all want to become a better version of ourselves. Somewhere we need to start. Emotional intelligence is something which is a huge predictor of success. So let's start with this one. So I leave the forum open for questions. So Martin, over to you now.
Thank you, Jolly. It's a wonderful session. Means always advancement in learning is both learning, which is based out of a good, say, proven knowledge, and also putting it to practice. So today during this session, you have given us the knowledge which is scientifically proven. That is one, and very well researched. And it is our turn now to put it into practice so that we can advance in our learning and manage our teams. Well, not only managing our teams, but also be more self-aware and also improve in our personal life and find success. And it is quite an enriching session. What I do is I will send to the participants the PPT once you share it, and also the list of books. And I would request you would like to take any question and answers, maybe for next 5 minutes?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we will open this.
Even the next week when I'm doing the program, as in next to next week, if people, we could always start with anything, any questions that they had of the previous session where they found it difficult to implement or something, we can always start with that also. But let's understand, I want you all to work on this one because this is important. Yes, Martin, sorry, I cut you in between.
Okay, so what we do is we will accordingly would do it. If at all any participants and attendees have any questions, you can kind of say ask them right now, or you can say write them down to us, or next session we will answer them. That is one. And I also would send the 16 question EQ quiz to all of us so that you can kind of say, as we start this session, do the scoring for yourself and work on it, and do the scoring again after 1 month and see the improvement part of it. That's what I will do. And I would request Amisha ma'am now to give her closing comments for this session.
Thank you, Jolly. This was a very wonderful session. And frankly, I felt that this subject needs more sessions, and all of us, everybody present here, I'm sure would have felt that this subject needs more sessions and little more details also for us to navigate from where we are to a better version of ourselves. So I would request, once this 4 sessions which has been outlined is done, and anytime you feel like taking some more sessions, or also opening up voluntary sessions, and the people who really want to do that next step can voluntarily choose that. But something like that we should do, because this is a very important topic you have touched upon. It gave, I believe, each of us very good insights and very good, it opened up very good opportunities for us to improve and learn. And the best part was it put the onus on ourselves for what we want to do, neither on circumstances nor on those, not on any subjects, but entire onus is back to us as to what we choose and how we learn to improve. This was an excellent session. We really loved it. And I'm sure everybody echoes what I'm trying to express on their behalf. Lovely, Martin and Jolly. Please keep it up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure,
So I
ma'am.
know this is a very big session, and I think I've just opened up a lot of, thinking faculties, because when I look at the question, I feel like answering each one of them. So, ma'am, I've been doing 2-day programs also on E and EI, and still it is less. So somebody asked me a question here. Would you suggest that it will be helpful to get the 16 questions answered by someone we work with very closely? If you want to know that person's response, why will that person be honest with you? I will not be honest with, answering this, even if I have to share it with my husband. So you can always give it to that person, that do it for yourself, keep it with yourself, know which area you need to improve on. So if you give the person the liberty to keep it secretive, probably he'll be honest in answering it. So that is what it is.
Yeah, thank you. We also have a feedback poll which is there. I would request Sham to put that feedback poll. Yeah, the poll is up, and I request all the attendees to give your feedback.
Martin,
Yes, ma'am.
just to make sure that you have timeline to achieve the next thing, I'm making a small announcement here, though the work is in progress. But let me tell you all that we are bringing, along with this series which is going on, some of the most powerful ways of being able to connect to yourself, connect with your own difficulties and overcome it, both in terms of your emotional, physical, and skill level things. So kind of a package which we are tying up. And I'm sure that will also go a long way in giving each of you, kind of a personalized sessions the way you choose. So Martin, we have to work on bringing that also on table with a timeline. So, we just move ahead in whatever that we had thought that we should be doing.
Sure, ma'am. Actually, we would do that before the second session. We will finalize and we can announce it, ma'am. And there is a change in schedule also. We have said that 22nd would be the second session. That would be pushed to 29th because 22nd is Ganesh Chaturthi. So we would be doing the session on 29th. Okay. And during the 29th session, we would unveil this complete package, ma'am.
Perfect. Lovely.
Thank you. Okay, how many have participated? I'm unable to see in the poll.
95 out of 130.
Okay, I would all the others to kind of say, do the polling so that we can get the exact feedback.
So Martin, I will be sharing the presentation with you, so you can share it with the participants so they can just go through the contents of that.
Sure, Jolly, that would help
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I think we will stop the poll, and we would circulate a feedback from Google feedback form, that is also ready, so that you can have other comments as well. We would definitely do that. And the next session would be on 29th.
29th, yeah.
And that would be on conflict management. That is something which is very crucial. And it would be influencing, persuasion, negotiation, and conflict management. And that would be a wonderful session. And I would ask all the attendees to kind of say mark your calendars, and we will kind of say meet on 29th, and in between you can do this homework, start applying what you have learned in your practice. Okay, so the feedback is very good, which we can see here. It's excellent, it is coming, and I think we will continue to have this kind of a session. Yeah.
Great.
And thank you so much, Jolly. I think
Thank you, Martin.
done
It's
for
always
today.
good.
And thank you, attendees. Thank you, panelists. Amisha ma'am, thank you. Dhiren sir, Mihir sir, and all the HODs and zonal managers who are part of it, and all the attendees. We thank you, and we will meet you on 29th for a similar session on conflict management, influencing, negotiation, and persuasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Everyone. Thank
Thank you.
you, Jolly.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, and good day, everyone.